Hello, Professor. This is David Pratt. This is my final project presentation. I'm just gonna start by showing you all of the functionality of my website here, and then I will show you kind of the code that backs it while going back and showing you each part of the functionality. So we got my store here. Got the ability to log in or register. I'm actually going to start by showing you my database because we'll log in with an actual user. So an address, a user has an address. Users create orders, orders create order details, which contain products, and products also have coupons. They're attached to coupons by this product ID here. And we'll get into what all of those mean, and they're all pretty much modeled in my code, so we'll get into that. But we'll start by looking at the users table here. So you've got the role here. One is just a normal user, and two is actually an admin. So we're going to log in as an admin because they have all the same stuff as a normal user, but they don't. They have a little bit more as well. So, oops, that's the wrong thing that I copied there. Copy that and paste it there, and copy that and paste it there. So now we got to log in as this person. You can see that the nav bar changes so that you've got the ability to log out. You can see your cart. You can look at these admin tools, and we'll get into all this in a minute. For now, this is the home page, which clicking on this here will link to the home page, and home will go there as well. You can see you can add to cart any of these, and then in the cart, we don't have anything in there right now. So we'll go home, we'll add that to the cart, and then let's go back home and add that to the cart. So we've got two things here. Total is $295.83. We had checkout. I've got to input all of this, and I just hard coded this. We'll get into that in a minute, but I did just do it like that because it wasn't 3, 4, 5, 6. December 2022, 1, 2, 3 is a CVV, and we won't do a coupon code right now. Finalized checkout total is $295.83, just like it said. So, and if we go in here, I'll show you really quick. We've got a new order here. Oh boy. Pause it just so I can find the order here. So we've got this new order that we just created in 2019 on 12/22, which is today. At 17:17, created a new order with an order ID of 1013. If we go into order details and go by order ID 1013 here, we got those two products. So if you added those together, it would be that $295.83 that we got there. So that's pretty cool. We did that. So you can also search. We'll search by an actual product. So we'll go into our products table and grab this one right here. Control C and add the product name there and search. It didn't come up with it for some reason, but it does bring up a table here. So we've got that search ability there. Again, you can look at the cart, and then we'll go to sales report. This gives you a form with two date pickers on it. We'll just choose 12/9 and 12/31. We'll create that and give it a second to load here. Just took its time loading, but you can see that we got all of these details in here and who ordered them. You can see which login I've been using because he's the first admin in the users table. So, but you can see, right? So you can see that we got all these here. We will go now and start looking at some of the code that I have set up for this. So you can see all of this here that we've made throughout the last 7 weeks. So we'll start with just index.php. That's just the home page there. Require the autoloader. We'll start the session here. This portion right here just checks to see if a user is logged in, or I'm sorry, if a user wants to log out. So I did that by adding a logout button, and if the logout button is clicked, it sets get logout to 1, and then it unsets all of those variables and then logs you out and sends you back to index, and which would reload the autoloader and reload the header there. Header is actually the nav bar, so we'll take a look at that in a couple of minutes. And then in order to show all of the products, it just searches, it gets all the products in this business product data search. And again, I'm just kind of going through this. We'll go back and take a look at all of it. And then sets the page name to home page. That was for testing. I don't actually need that in there anymore, but and then includes this file, which is an include file, which we'll get to. And this also was a test, and just it's going to echo nothing is found there. And this is a logout button that I had to test it out down at the bottom. So we'll start back up at the top. We will, I'll show you here the, let's start. All right, so we're going to start by kind of just going through this. I'm not going to go through everything because that would take way too long. So we're going to go through some of it. I'll just show you how the index page is started, and then we'll kind of go through search and the admin stuff and all of that kind of good stuff. So we'll start by going through index. Going through this display all products page just to show you how that works. And then we're going to go through search and admin stuff and everything like that. So we'll just show you display all products here. That one it has a little bit of CSS here at the top to make that table, and then it just really echoes a table with all of the product ID, name, description, and price in there. And then it's got this form as a table data, which is the add to cart part of it. And we do that by just querying the database. It's got this result, which it says isn't defined, but it's actually defined an index here because it's a partial file, it's an include file. The result is actually the business get all products. So let's go to business product data search just to show you how I did that. And get all products here creates a new product data search database. So that's my, I'm sorry, we're in business product data search. Oh, we are in business. Okay, here's database. So, and then it just gets all products from the database and then checks if the result was there. And if it was, it returns it. Otherwise, it returns null. So we'll go to product data search in the database section of my code here, which is right there. So I separated it. It's all in n-tier architecture. So we've got a presentation layer, business layer, and data layer. And the business layer is going to communicate with the data layer, the presentation layer only with the business layer. So you can see in the data layer here, we're getting all the products. We're creating a new MySQLi object, selecting all of the stuff from the product table, and then querying that database. And if the query returns a MySQLi result object, we then get it into an associative array and add that to another array and then return that array. So pretty simple stuff there. If there was nothing, it just returns null. So, and that's where all in here, we'll say that if the result is true, if there's anything in the result, we're going to just display it. And if there's nothing in it, if it's null, it'll just say nothing found here. So, and then we'll talk about, here, let me go back to my directions here. We're going to check out the product search code here. So that is starts in search.php here in the presentation layer. Search.php page, we've got really just the form here and some CSS to make the form centered, basically. You just search for the product name. So then we'll go to this handler, search handler, which I have all the handlers here in the presentation layer. And they're the ones that will actually do the communicating with the business layer, which will then communicate with the database layer. So we'll go search handler, if I can find it here, right there. Search handler just grabs the name, saves it in a variable called needle, gets access to the business product data search, the one that I was looking at before. We'll show you that in a minute. And then searches for the needle by name and returns the result. If the result is true, then we've got another partial include file. We're actually using the same display all products file because it's the same name and it's going to do the same thing. If otherwise, we're sending it back to search and saying nothing was found here with that name, which in search, it should at the top echo the session message, which is what we're putting in there. So, but I'll go back to business product data search here. And we've got search by name, really just a wrapper function. We're going in to the database, the database layer and searching by name. So we'll go take a look at that. Search by name is right here. It takes in a name, gets a new MySQLi object, access to the database, selects everything from the products table where the name is equal to the name, and then returns it as a result. And I think why this wasn't working when I showed you it is because I changed a lot of the database stuff. So I think I would just have to do some tweaking there to make that work. And then basically does the same thing that display all products did. It queries the database, saves it in a thing called result. If it does return a MySQLi result object, then we create an array while we use this variable called p, fetch the associative, and then we push to the array. We push to this array. So pretty standard there. And then we create a new product here, a new product object, and return that. So we'll go up here and I'll show you the product object. I've got all my models here in the database, or I'm sorry, in the business layer. So we've got product right there. Really simple. ID, name, description, and price. We've got a constructor and then getters and setters. Really, really standard, simple stuff. Product data search, again, we're just grabbing those and using them as the parameters for the constructor and then returning it. Really simple there. All right, so then the next thing here in the file, we've got the view, cart, and the checkout. So I will start off by showing you, let me get back to my code here. Start off by showing you in the header here. So header is just, that's just the nav bar, and it really is just, the nav bar is a partial file, so it's really kind of a wrapper for the nav bar file here, and then it has these links to the Bootstrap Bootstrap online stuff so that I could use that for the CSS. But we will go to the navbar partial include file. We've got a bunch of Bootstrap stuff around here in the classes and all that, so we can kind of skip past those. But we've got a lot of divs, a list. Again, home links to the index, search links to the presentation/search. I didn't do this by, I did this by actual path instead of relative path, because if I did relative path, it was hard when you're using a partial include file and actually including that partial include file in a file and then including that file in all the other files. Then you're starting to get convoluted for where your relative path is going to. So I did actual file here or actual path here that would just link to it. Log out, cart. So we've got this show cart right here. This is really what I wanted to get to. We've got the cart object there in the nav bar, and we'll go to showcart.php, which is actually a presentation because it's actually getting shown on the screen. Almost exactly the same as display all products, but we're just querying the cart instead. So it's first going to check if the session cart variable is set. Otherwise, then we don't have anything in the cart, obviously. If the user is logged in, then it's going to echo who it's registered to. Otherwise, it probably should say that you're not logged in and don't have access to the cart, something like that. I just didn't put that part in there. We create a table here, and I've got all this in there. That is some other stuff that makes that table look like it does. It's some CSS kind of stuff that I've got from other places. And then for each item in the cart, this is going to just query just get all the items from the cart. Don't know where I created the cart. Oh, there it is. Show cart is session cart. So the cart variable is, we're just going to take in the session super global variable, we're saving a cart object, and then I'm just grabbing it and putting it in the cart. So, or putting it in the cart variable there. I'll show you the cart object here really quick. This one's got a little bit more code in it just than getters and setters. It does have the getters and setters down here, and but up here we've got a constructor that takes in a user ID and then creates all of these as arrays, and then sets total equal to 0 to start. If we wanted to add an item, we're going to give it a product ID. But right now we're just worried about, where is it? Oh, get items. That's what we're using. It's actually a getter. So get items just returns this.items, which is actually just an array. So it's just returning this array right here, this items array. So, but yeah, there's a lot of code in here. Maybe we'll get to it. Maybe not. You can take a look at it when I send all this code to you. But in the show cart here, we're actually just getting all the items from the cart as the product ID and quantity, so the key and variable there. we're searching for the product by its product ID. So that's why I included up here. I included the business product data search, which we already looked at. It just searching using search by ID instead of search by name. And then it's creating that table and just echoing the